Hey you guys, it's your girl T. So everybody want me to come on here and talk about the whole Wendy Williams situation, honey. So what's going down with Miss Wendy Williams is that basically they drug her ass for the filth up and down social media yesterday when she caught herself coming for Jesse Williams' speech. You know, she claimed that it was okay, but then she went on to this whole tirade about how it's unfair and slightly racist that they're HBCUs, historically black colleges. Wendy Williams feels like if they were historically white colleges, that this would be considered racist. And when I tell you, her audience just sat there looking at her like, bitch, what? And it was nothing but damn crickets. Her audience literally left her out there to dry because her comments and what she was saying was just so utterly stupid. It made no sense whatsoever. Go ahead and check out this snippet and I'm going to come back with the rest of my commentary.
His speech was very poignant on one hand. On the other hand, you know, I would be really offended if there was a school that was known as a historically white college. We have historically black colleges.
What?
There was the National Organization for White People Only. There's the NAACP.
Girl.
National. By the way, what is the C? Colored? We're still using colored? Like, I get it. Look, everybody's quiet. Okay? You're leaving me out here to hang to dry by myself.
As they should.
One wrong word, I know. I'm choosing my words carefully, but what I'm saying is racism sucks, you know, and we can all do better in our own house.
This, Wendy. You ever heard of Bluefield State University, West Virginia? Historically black college and university. It's now 70+% white. Lincoln University, where Thurgood Marshall went to college, and HBCU, it's now 60% white. You do realize that 1 in 4 students at the HBCU are non-African American. That's because historically black colleges and universities have given opportunities to students regardless of color, and so more Hispanics and more poor whites are taking advantage of that. See, if you actually bother to read a book and not gossip magazines, you might know these things. Wendy, let me help you out with something. When you're on TV and you have no idea what you're talking about, shut the hell up. Don't open your mouth. Don't embarrass yourself because you sound silly.
All right, so you guys just saw what Wendy Williams had to say. You guys just saw the internet drag her ass. So after folks drug Wendy Williams up and down social media, she was literally #2 trending topic worldwide. She decided to come back today and kind of backtrack about what she meant to say. So I want you guys to check out her backtracking real quick here, okay?
I find nothing wrong with historically black colleges. My father graduated from Lincoln, which is a black college. My brother graduated from Virginia State. But my thought in my mind was, and what I said to you is, well, how would I feel if I was applying to colleges and they were historically white? And that was, you know, part of the marquee of selling, you know, me to apply to the school. Now, I understand, you know, historically black organizations, universities have been around because we, as black people, were not allowed to go to your schools, drink out of your fountains, ride in the front of the bus, sit at your countertops. But in 2016, you know, and racism is still alive and well, very much so. You know, I've got a son and a plethora of, I don't know any white people in our family. I mean, everybody that's a lot that I've ever known has always been black. So I don't know that. I mean, obviously there's some mixing along the line someplace, but I am a we are the world, we are the people kind of person, you know, and I have to say, you know, in light of the 2 police shootings, you know, in Baton Rouge and Minnesota, this stuff is still going on in 2016. I don't know when it will stop. You know, the best I could say as a regular woman observing the world, like we all are, is it starts in the 4 walls we call home. So, if we can, you know, teach our children better, and if we can educate ourselves more as adults, you know, and you know, to, you know, the multitude of racist or racial people, races around the world, as well as, you know, religious groups, then, you know, we'll all be better as a society. But for the record...
All right, you guys just saw Wendy Williams backtracking more than somebody doing the damn Running Man challenge. You know, I find it very funny that Wendy Williams is sitting here talking about, you know, she's offended because there's HBCUs. I wish this fool Wendy would realize that every college that's not a HBCU is a white college, okay? You know, the fact that she's even upset about this, it just makes no sense whatsoever. And I've called Wendy Williams out before. You guys know how I feel about her. Like I said, I have no issues with her, you know, with her gossiping and top my celebrity tea, because that's what made Wendy Williams who she is today. But I've always called out the fact that she's not fair when she talks about celebrities. You know what I'm saying? She's so quick to drag Rihanna and act like Rihanna is not worthy of having a man, but then in the same breath says nothing about Taylor Swift and Taylor Swift having different boyfriends and things like that. So it's okay for Taylor Swift to date, like I stated before. I have no issues with that. But when Rihanna dates different men, all of a sudden Rihanna's not a woman that a man should bring home to his mother. You know, she's always going in on Rihanna. She's always going in on Beyonce. But when it comes to these white celebrities, she doesn't drag them as much as she does the black celebrities. And I've called her out on this several times before. You know what I'm saying? So after this fight aired, Wendy Williams decided to recap the fight and talk about it on her show. And during her show, as I'm watching this shit, this bitch is talking about she's ashamed to be black because of Cynthia and Portia. And I'm sitting there like, Wendy Williams, are you for real? Like, you're using Cynthia and Portia's fight to define black people and to define your black womanhood? Like, are you serious right now? You know, this is the stuff that makes me mad. Like, you're doing is perpetuating and creating the racism that a lot of white folks end up using against black people, okay? When most people looked at that fight, they saw human emotions. They saw 2 women who misunderstood and misconstrued what each other was trying to say, and they let their emotions get out of hand. Nobody was looking at this as a black or white issue until you brought it up, Wendy, and that's not cool. Also, Wendy Williams was catching a lot of flack because she also stated that she felt like Nicki Minaj should not have attacked Miley Cyrus. You know, Nicki Minaj is a grown woman. Miley Cyrus is a child. Now, I gotta call Wendy Williams out on this bullshit, too. First of all, Wendy Williams, Miley Cyrus is a grown-ass woman. And I get tired that when it's a white girl getting attacked or when, you know, somebody's coming for a white girl, all of a sudden society wants to put them in the role of a child. They did the same shit with Taylor Swift when they wanted to use all of Taylor Swift's little sweet pictures, but then have the pictures of Nicki Minaj looking angry. All of these women are grown-ass women. At 22 years old, you can legally drink, you can legally vote, you can have sex and everything else. So Miley Cyrus is not a child. Those kids who are on Twitter demanding that you lose your job and that you lose what you worked so hard for, those were children. Miley Cyrus is a grown woman, so if Nicki Minaj wanted to come for her, she had every right to come for her. But was it distasteful? Yes, it was. But the thing that bothers me with this is the hypocrisy coming from Miss Wendy Williams, okay? Now, you want to tell the black folks to stop hating on Iggy Azalea and you want to hate for Iggy, which is fine. You have the right to do that. But then in the same breath, you went in on Rihanna. You basically said that Rihanna was a slut and that Leonardo DiCaprio can do better than her. You said that Rihanna is a beautiful woman, but she's dangerous. You know, she's one of those women that you can take to a red carpet event. You'll even have sex with her because she's sexy, but she's not the type of woman that you would bring home to Thanksgiving dinner. And you know, when you said that about her, that kind of didn't sit well with me. I said that whenever it comes to Rihanna, folks are so quick to note her whole shit and, you know, call out her name and make her out to be a whore, regardless of who she slept with or not slept with in the industry. But in the same breath, you want folks to stop picking on Iggy. But in so many words, you're saying that Rihanna's a whore. So it's okay for you as a black woman to pick on another black woman and call her a whore and say that she's not worthy of going to Thanksgiving dinner with a white man. But then you're sitting there caping for Iggy and saying that folks shouldn't pick on Iggy. Is that not being somewhat of a hypocrite, people? Or am I just losing my goddamn mind? Because when I do my celebrity tea, honey, anybody can get it. I don't care if you're white or black. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to do celebrity tea, you need to be fair across the board. Don't sit there and drag your own people, but then drag other races of people with damn kitten gloves. You know, this whole argument that Wendy Williams had, it was just stupid. And like I stated on Twitter, for her to have this mentality is what's wrong with a lot of us today, because a lot of us are so determined to forget our past and say that it's 2016 and there's no more racism. This is what happens when people forget their past and forget the sacrifices that those who came before them made for them, okay? And when you have a platform like that, especially when white folks are watching, you need to be on it. And that's what I don't respect when I see folks with a platform like a Wendy Williams or a Raven Simone trying to act like, you know, all this shit is just a figment of black people's imaginations. They're trying to denounce the things that black people have worked so hard for. Wendy Williams had no business even bringing up anything about HBCUs. Jesse Williams' speech had nothing to do with that. So it's almost like she was just trying to just start some shit, thinking her audience would ride with her, and damn near everybody in the audience, black and white, looked at this bitch like she was crazy as hell. You know, the whole situation is ridiculous, and I find it funny that most of the people who are knocking Jesse Williams' speech are other black people. You know, Wendy Williams, you know, I kind of agree, but not really. You know, Whoopi Goldberg said a bunch of bullshit. Stacey Dash, of course. And then, of course, you had all the little racists out there who had something to say about his speech, like Tommy Loren and everybody else. But it was mainly black folks who were knocking this man for what he was saying. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, regardless if he's biracial or not, some of us are so quick to denounce the message just because we don't feel comfortable with who the messenger is. You know, so Wendy Williams needs to have a tall glass to shut the fuck up and stop talking about things that are above your pay grade, okay? Let's leave the serious shit to the Roland Martins and the news anchors at TV One, and you just stick to celebrity gossip, okay? If we want to know who's fucking who, we'll go to Wendy Williams. If we want to know about HBCUs, we'll go to a real news station, okay, Wendy? If you're not going to report things right and you're just going to make shit up and then backtrack, then just make sure that you stick to your celebrity gossip, okay? Anyways, you guys, let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this entire crazy situation, once again, concerning Wendy Williams. How do you feel about what she had to say about Jesse Williams' speech and what she had to say about the HBCUs? And then also, how do you feel about social media dragging her? And how do you feel about her now backtracking today? So let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Go ahead and leave a comment. All right, deuces. Hey, you guys, it's your girl T. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share my videos. You can also visit Lovelyti.com to purchase any merchandise. Also, don't forget to click the boxes down below to watch any of my previous videos. Talk to y'all later. Deuces.